following transmission has been encrypted to protect you, the listener, and the transmitter. Please destroy upon listening. Here's the leader of your underground, Chris Butler.
You know, when I hear that, I think we might want to destroy the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, just in case.
Right.
Anyway, Chris Butler, how are you, my friend?
Good,
to see
Rob.
you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome to another edition of Free Market Underground, talking about what's going on in the world of finance, what's going on in the economy. Been kind of a wild ride the last couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Oh, man. It has been all over the map. I feel like I've been Bitcoined.
Yes. I keep hoping that I'll find a stash of Bitcoins.
Yeah, right.
At some point, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But we've got some good news. We've got some bad news with the economy.
Yeah.
We've got some just some crazy stuff going on at the federal government level. Larry Kudlow going to be added to the administration. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's great.
I think it's really cool too. I also think, and I think that Donald Trump, if we're going to go with pop culture icons and people who are on television, I think that we need for Secretary of Transportation. I think we need like Dale Earnhardt Jr. for Secretary of the Interior.
Yeah.
I think we need Joanna Gaines from Chip and Joanna from Fixer Upper.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting. Larry Kudlow, your thoughts, my friend, because you are a financial guru and all that stuff. What do you think about Larry Kudlow being added to the administration?
I have been a fan of Larry Kudlow for over 2 decades. People do forget that before he was kind of a media personality, he was the head economist at Bear Stearns, and whether he was the head economist at Allianz, I don't know about head, but he was very high up in Allianz. So this guy knows his stuff, and he's a supply-side economist. I'm not totally supply-side, but he is a free market guru, and that's what I like about the guy. What I think is interesting about him, Rob, is that, and you know him as well as I do, you've seen his TV, you've heard him on the radio. He is a guy that is very inclusive. He brings people together. There is no one that's met this guy that doesn't like him, and that's the right and the left. I'm hoping he's a consensus builder is what I hope. At the very least, I hope he's someone else to bounce ideas off of.
We are seeing that, though. We are seeing consensus for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
In this administration, we are seeing consensus. Whether it be the EU meeting where Donald Trump had some of the biggest CEOs in the world around a table, whether it be talking about immigration and whatnot, I think he's looking for consensus builders. I do believe that Larry Kudlow is conservative.
He is,
but at the same time, people from the left can also go, I like this guy.
Right,
I like this guy,
and that's why he's so valuable. He is liked by all sides of the political spectrum, frankly, because he's a nice guy. He's just a nice guy. But he will also give people, he's a great person to debate because you can't really slam him, because if you make a good point, he acknowledges it and then explains why he still doesn't like it. Good point. But here's what I think. I'm looking forward, Rob, to see him play off of Peter Navarro, who is the tariff guy in the administration, and Larry's not.
I want to talk to you about that.
Okay.
We've got to get to the tariffs.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big fan of the tariff thing.
Right.
But we've kind of been bee-slapped by the world as far as trade.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about tariffs with regard to aluminum and steel in this country?
Well, first of all, you have to understand why they were made. Secondly, you have to understand what a tariff does. A tariff protects producers at the expense of the consumers.
Okay.
That's what a tariff does. Okay, and that's why most people, Kudlow included, myself, you, why we don't like tariffs. They tend to hurt more than they help. The country won't be better off with them than without them. On the other hand, we also have to understand that what's happening in steel, I don't think anybody would claim is fair. China they're communist. They can subsidize an entire industry. They do. They dump that steel on our market, and it guts out our capacity to build things here, frankly. So, yes, I think that there are some good reasons for – and here's a free market guy like me. People say, well, okay, if we don't impose tariffs, how do we punish cheaters? Well, I don't have any answers. So to that extent, barring military, there's no good answer. So sometimes if you want to impose a tariff, I can understand the rationale.
Well, I think that they love it in steel country.
They do.
They love it in steel country. I got to tell you, Donald Trump, if anybody understands the steel industry and importing steel and metal, if anybody understands it, Donald Trump understands it.
Sure.
He builds stuff, all right, more than any other chief executive we've ever had. I think that he understands, here, we're getting screwed. So I as much as I hate the idea of tariffs, I really think he has a fundamental understanding of how badly we're being treated on the world stage. So
he does. The only problem I really have with the dialogue that's going on right now, the banter between pro and anti-tariff forces, is that we've been having this argument for 250 years. Adam Smith wrote that book, The Wealth of Nations, to discredit exactly the kinds of arguments we're getting. I think it is though a valid argument to say that we need to do this to protect this industry, and we want to protect the industry, and we recognize that it has some negative ramifications, and we'll deal with those if they come up. But we do need to do something over here. That, I think, is a legitimate argument. What I don't think is a legitimate argument is to pretend that no harm comes.
Yeah. Well...
And then you talk about trade war, which is another consequence, but not an internal one. It doesn't have to happen.
But at the same time, isn't it time we reasserted ourselves as the most powerful engine of economic freedom in the world? And you know what? Honestly, we've been slapped around for a long time, and we're good and decent people, Chris. Yeah. We are good and decent people. We're a good and decent country. And I think it's kind of cool to have somebody in the White House who's like, no, bull crap. Yeah. And China has been they've been stealing our intellectual property for decades. And there are, like, for instance, I don't know all the details on this, Chris, but they have massive tariffs on American automobiles coming in to the country versus us. So you know what? I got to tell you, I'm going to side with the president on this one.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, man,
it's hard for an economist to do it, but I will grant the argument, and I'll listen to the argument. One of the things that we can either talk about now or later is I think there's a better way to make us competitive on an international stage, and that is regulation. Now, I don't know if you
wait. You want regulation?
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
It is the absence of said regulation which would help. And do you know the cost in the private sector of regulation in this country?
Oh, dear God in heaven, dude. I mean, it's ungodly.
It's $2 trillion minimum. And if you divide $2 trillion by each employed person in the United States, it's $15,000 a head per year.
Dear God in heaven.
Now, imagine if you relax that in the steel industry.
Well, they're working on it.
And they are.
They are working on it.
And you know what? They have made a significant dent in regulation. By the way, these are 2012 numbers. I assume they went up until 2016 and started to come back down again. Yeah. But imagine, Rob, if you did actually take down that $15,000 and just dream for a second that you take it all the way down to zero. We could lower the price of steel by $28 a ton. Suddenly you're a world player, and no one gets hurt. It's funny to me, if you look at a list of all that very same statistic, per employee regulation costs, we're like number 3 or 4. Okay, so most people are beating us just on regulation.
Yeah.
So that's an answer. That's one way.
I think we're on the way to that. I mean, you talk the president. One of the things that he's doing is he's saying that for every new regulation, 2 go bye-bye. Well, and I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. And you can tell by the reaction of business that it's happening. It's happening.
Which is one of the things you wanted to talk about, confidence. And the statistic that you were looking at.
U.S. consumer confidence hits 14-year high.
Okay.
On top of everything else. And I would say, by and large, if you're looking at some sort of a comparison, positive to negative with the economy. And we have negatives. We have negatives.
We do.
I would say 70-30 positive. I would say that. U.S. consumer confidence hits a 14-year high. This on the top of 37-year high as far as employment in this country is concerned. All of these things. What does this mean to you?
I can do you one better because just this week, the small business confidence numbers came out, and we're like less than 1 point away from a 43-year high. Is that right? No, it goes back to 1983.
Jeez. Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that when I was in high school.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. We're getting back to. We're getting back to Rob's high school day confidence numbers.
Thank you very much. Yes. Sorry about that.
And by the way, I was also in high school, so getting back to mine as well. And I remember how confident kind of exuded in America at that time. We're getting right back there. So that is one of the good.
Well, let me see. Wasn't there another Republican president who took over for a failed Democrat? Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm wrong here. Wasn't there another Republican president who came in with all these free market principles and lowering taxes and lowering regulations?
So it's not Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, I don't think it was Jimmy Carter.
No, it might have been. It was around Carter, I think, if memory serves.
But we are seeing that same sort of reaction, but quicker.
Yeah.
But quicker, Chris.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that if you look at the first year of the Trump administration, I do a lot of prep here for this show, Chris. Check this out. 2 million Americans off food stamps in Trump's first year.
Yeah.
All of these things are happening at light speed in this administration, Chris.
Which is good and bad because it might be too fast to actually make a meaningful impact for the average American that might be a little less plugged in like you and I are.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be nicer if some of this stuff kind of trickled out? But you're right. The speed with which it's occurring is dramatic.
Because we've learned fairly quickly and in a profound way. And this president, I believe, has kind of gone at this economy and at this government with a sledgehammer. Okay, he just went in and said, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I said when this guy was elected, I said, he is the first chief executive who's a chief executive.
Yeah.
George Bush, yes, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a chief executive who is behaving like a chief executive. And consequently, and I didn't even think it was possible, Chris, I didn't even think it was possible. He is turning around the government, and he is forcing the United States government to act like a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it.
I believe that too. And I think if you want to go back for some evidence, go back to what we were talking about earlier with regulation. I mean, it's just like any chief executive would do when he sees too much red tape in his own organization. What does he do? He removes the red tape. In this particular case, that red tape has wrapped us up like a mummy.
It's kind of funny because, he's fired some people this week.
Yes, he has.
And I kind of laughed because here's a guy who has made a living and created a caricature of himself that says, you're fired.
Yeah.
And he's doing it.
Yeah.
If you don't disagree with me, we're talking Rex Tillerson.
Yeah.
He's saying, you don't. He supports the Iran nuke deal.
Right.
Donald Trump says no.
Right.
You're fired.
Right.
Get used to it. This is how it rolls. Normally in the federal government, you get whatever. You never get fired.
Yeah. And you know what I think is interesting about Tillerson, and it kind of gives you a glimpse at his management style. The hiring of Kudlow tells me I'm willing to listen to both sides, right? But when I put you in a position that is non-advisory, right, where you're representing the United States of America and you don't agree with me, that is different. I think he doesn't mind people disagreeing with him, to be honest.
Oh, listen, I think
you
Tillerson
can't represent him and do it.
Tillerson is a completely respectable person.
Yeah,
I like Rex Tillerson, but the president says this is the way I roll.
Yeah,
and if you don't, goodbye.
Yeah,
and so you know what? I have no problem with it. Back to Larry Kudlow. Larry Kudlow is predicting 4 to 5% growth in the GDP in the next whatever. I've seen some contradictions, headlines this week saying, no. What are your thoughts on the GDP? What are your thoughts on economic growth in the country?
Well, and one of the things that I...
Get a little closer to the mic, by the way.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead. Yes.
I think that if you look at the Atlanta Fed, which does kind of an ongoing, up-to-date, real-time GDP forecast for quarter one, at one point they were above 5 for quarter one, their estimate for GDP growth. They're now below 2. And it represents a lot of what's going on in our economy, that what we're seeing is deceleration. So
why is that?
Well, it probably has nothing to do with any policy that's been put in place. For
irrational exuberance?
I don't think so. I think that this is the first pangs, if you will, of higher interest rates, and that started before Trump even took office. I hate to bring this up every time we do something like this, Rob, but I just want to remind people that you cannot possibly appreciate the problem, whether it was Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Someone was going to step into that office at an inopportune time. And because the Fed had already started to take the punch bowl away. Every president wants to preside over the country when that punch bowl is either just arriving or has been promised to stay for a while. The winner of the 2016 election knew they were going to walk into the Oval Office while the punch bowl is being taken away. I do think that the hikes we've seen, which have not been trivial in interest rates over the last 2 years, are starting to take their toll. And I think that's the nuts and bolts of it.
The last 8 years, Chris. I've said this to you before. All the economy, and look at a GDP of about 1.5, blah, blah, blah. The reason being is Fed's pumping money in the market and artificially low interest rates. That's it. It was fake. It was fake. It was fraud, and it's phony. And we are finally paying for that.
Yeah.
And this is real.
Yeah.
And this is real. This is real. This is where we finally go, okay, let's have an economy that's based on something real, which is production, which is, we saw some great manufacturing numbers last.
Yeah.
Did you see those last year? Kaboom! And we're gonna take some hits, but this is real economic growth, something that we haven't seen in 8 years.
Right. And that's exactly right. And when you pump the economy full of money for 8 to 10 years, which we did, yes. You're going to get inflation, right? So and by the way, you're likely to get it, and you're likely to see it grow at a hypersonic rate because it's just been sloshing around doing nothing. When people can put it to good use, you are going to see inflation go up. That's the good side of inflation. The bad side is that interest rates tend to go up too, and that tends to choke off some stuff that we probably did wrong over the last 10 years.
Well, we did see kind of a slowdown on new home buying.
Yeah, new home buying permits.
What are the rates at right now? I mean,
they're not that high, and that should be a little bit of a concern. They're still very, very affordable in a historical context, and yet going from 3.75% on mortgage rates to 5.5% seems to be something no one's willing to do.
Yeah, well, I had 6 3/4 when I was in D.C.
Right.
And I bought in 2004, so I don't even want to hear you complaining about it.
No, and in fact,
God damn it. I got to get this cord out of the way here. Sorry.
Yeah. I remember when my parents moved here, Rob, in 1979, bought a house. I believe, if memory serves, their interest rate on that mortgage was 12.
12.
Yeah.
Now, I remember that was Jimmy Carter.
Right.
That was low.
Yeah, it got up to 16, I think.
Because it got a very high during the Carter administration. I was a kid, and I remember, and I didn't know anything about finance, but I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How do you pay? You've got a $200,000 mortgage, and your interest rate is 12, 13, 14, 15%.
You can't do it. I mean, if you did that math today, you would be utterly shocked because it doesn't look like any other kind of mortgage finance run that you might have done on your spreadsheet. It's mind-boggling that now we're talking about 5 is freaking out a large part of future home buyers.
Let me ask you real quick, as far as 15 or 30, in a home mortgage.
Yeah.
And, I'm 52 years old.
Yeah.
30-year mortgage, not so much. Not
Right.
so much. What are you going to save going with a 30 or a 15 versus a 30? Let me ask you that.
You're gonna get a better rate on a 15-year, and that's how they sell them. I would rather pay a little bit more for a 30 and be able to say, look, if I want to make double payments,
Yeah.
I'll do it. If not, I won't. It's more flexible if you go 30 over 15. Right now, if I were folks, I would steer absolutely clear of the whole variable rate mortgage because I think rates are going up, right? Fix it. If you're going to buy some 15 or 30, the most important thing is fix it.
All right. I want to ask you a question here. I just saw a new headline. 65% of Americans save little or nothing with regard to retirement.
Yeah.
You deal with this, dude.
Yeah.
You deal with this. What is coming to your door? Who is knocking on your door saying, hey, I need a retirement plan?
Right.
This is according to Bankrate, by the way. What are you seeing with regard to not only boomers but also Gen Xers with regard to retirement savings?
Well, the ones that I see are generally people that have enough wealth that it has created some opportunities to plan. So it's kind of a self-selection problem. I only see the people that have never had to really worry about what their retirement's going to look like, or at least not that much. But Bankrate does wonderful research on this, by the way. I think the problem is that for those that have not saved, they're for the most part dealing with inflation, and inflation is going up higher than their incomes. And for those folks, saving is almost impossible, and that's why they're not getting enough money to retire on.
What about taxes?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I say with regard to the amount of money you pay for freaking taxes and all of the things that you have, all of the things you have to deal with, whether it be federal, whether it be state, whether it be property, whether it be
Sales.
whatever. Dear God in heaven, Chris, we are taxed to death.
Yeah.
And I think if we had just a percentage of that, and we were able to put it away.
Yeah.
I think taxes have a lot to do with the lack of people being able to put money away. And you always think, well, it's because you're being selfish or you're buying stuff or you're whatever.
Yeah.
No. I think taxes have a lot to do with it.
They do. And at the end of the day, whether it's inflation, and keep in mind this too, Rob, inflation is a tax. Right? So you're right. It's taxes, whether it comes in the form of rising prices or extracted directly from your paycheck by some government entity or at the sales desk at your local Walmart, whatever. That is a dramatic number at the end of your working days. If you were to add it up, I mean, my gosh, even just earning 1%, you wouldn't have a retirement problem. And keep in mind, too, that they say that they're not saving. In a sense, they are with Social Security, because they are paying that tax, which should come back to them, not those exact dollars, of course, but from a couple generations down the road that are going to be working to support me in my retirement.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Social Security, most people don't realize that Social Security is nothing more. You don't have a lockbox.
No.
There is no savings account. It is on paper. The money that comes out from your Social Security every month goes to old people.
Right.
That's just the way it is. And it's so profoundly stupid because it's not interest bearing. It's just a waste of money. It's just a waste of money.
It is certainly not an efficient use of that money. But here's a number to blow your mind.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many workers? And by the way, let's be clear. What Rob just said is essentially this. This is a pay-as-you-go system. Money's not going into some vat with a lock on it, to be used when you retire. This is pay-as-you-go. Those that are retired today are being funded by those that work. Now, having said that, in 1949, do you know how many workers supported every one retiree?
I'm sure it's much different than now.
Yes.
Go ahead, yeah.
43 workers supported every one retiree.
Dear Lord.
Do you know what it is today?
I would 2.
Yes.
It's 2? Oh, my. Wow.
You were trying to be crazy there, Rob, and it wasn't that crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Unbelievable.
That speaks of the insolvency. I hope people realize that's the punchline. The punchline is we're insolvent on that
It's
system.
just, this is a conversation for another day. But
It is.
Dear God in heaven, we have a way to be able to put money away that would cause growth in a retirement fund other than just giving it to the current generation.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, Chris. It's ridiculous.
It is. And the thing is that we talked about this last time we did a podcast, Rob, and that is that we've got, now that we got the tax cuts, the next logical step is to cut spending. And
we've got to do that, Chris.
And but how do you do it if you don't address entitlements, which is the largest swath, right?
Of course.
And it's politically untouchable. So that's the predicament we're in. And what we need leaders to do, and I hope Donald Trump is this kind of leader that can conduct that national dialogue in a sensible way so we can at least start having the conversation. If we don't start having it today, there is going to be a bill due in about 20 years that no one here is expecting.
But I am seeing some positives with regard to deficit and money coming into the Fed. I've seen a couple of positives here.
Yeah.
So we do need to cut spending. We've noticed because of tax, and we always say this, Chris, when you cut taxes, revenue increases.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, revenue increases. So I've seen some positive movements there. But I worry when I see this president saying that we're going to do an infrastructure package and all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about that because I think we have a real shot to have a balanced budget.
Yeah, we do. And we were talking about the decelerating economy a little while ago. Could it be that the tax cuts, the true meat of what's expected in terms of economic growth, we haven't even begun to see yet? I tend to think so.
It's very early, dude.
It's way early.
It's real early.
And, that rabbit's going to take a little while to go through the snake.
For sure.
But I'm hoping that happens. And I am looking at maybe third or fourth quarter of 2018, first quarter 2019, where you really start to see the economic payoff. That's the pie for everybody getting larger. I'm hoping to see that no later than first quarter 2019. So the talk of the decelerating economy in a way might be a little pessimistic because we haven't seen anything really in terms of payoff from the tax cuts yet.
No, not at all. If anything, it's psychological, right?
That is.
I mean, it is.
That's
it.
It's
That's it.
That is
psychological.
all that's happened.
It is psychological. We are seeing, I should say, bonuses from certain companies
Right.
that are crumbs.
Yep.
Crumbs, according to
Crumbs,
Nancy
a lot
Pelosi,
of disbursement of crumbs.
which is amazing because the government, only when they give crumbs are they good.
Yeah.
The government gives you, your SNAP benefits, and they give you your Section 8 housing. Those crumbs are cool.
Touche. You're right. That is weird. It's the same dollar value, but it depending on where it comes from,
yes.
it's crumbs or meat.
$1,000,
Yeah.
it's crumbs. But if it comes from your you're
Yeah.
living in Section
Yeah.
8 housing and
Right.
you get food stamps. Oh, it's glorious.
Unbelievable, really. But you're so right. That's spot on.
I can't believe how many times I'm spot on today, Chris.
Yes, you are.
I mean, you're the genius here. You're the financial guru. I'm just a dubious broadcast professional. Did you have anything else you wanted to share? Because I do have kind of a fun story I want to share.
No. You go ahead with the fun story.
Yeah,
'Cause I think it is fun too.
This is pretty fun. Snuggie. Do you have a Snuggie?
I never got a Snuggie. No, I did not.
So do you buy products on television? Let me just ask you.
I have in the past.
What do you? Is there anything in particular that you have that you thought was kind of? You kind of like the as seen, because I love going to Target, I love going to CVS, and they have the as seen on TV stuff.
Right.
And I legitimately think there are some brilliant things
Absolutely
being sold on television.
There, CVS, Rob, has a whole aisle
I know.
called As Seen on TV. Where do you think I go when I'm waiting on my prescription? That is exactly where I go. And I think, man, I want to scratch my back with that.
I know, when you're sitting there and you're waiting for that Viagra to come there, you're just like...
You need more sound effects. I want to hear the grunch.
Anyway, well, the
Yes.
Snuggie, apparently they had Snuggie consumers have received a $7.2 million refund. Now, did you ever get one of these class action
I
suits?
have gotten, yep.
Literally, my son's, I gave him my car, which is a Mazda. We got $1.82. And I went... My wife said, go up and put the money, cash them, $1.82 check from Mazda. But anyway, Snuggie, apparently they've issued these and the thing is, that thing when you see at the end of the commercial it says, buy just 2 for $19.99, we'll double the offer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not actually realistic. Apparently, when you double the offer, they also double the handling, the packaging and the handling. Let me see if I can find the commercial here. I want to play a little bit. Oh, here it is. This is the Snuggie. A little bit from the Snuggie commercial if you don't know what Snuggie's all about. Here, hold on.
Chilled, but you don't want to raise your heating bill. Blankets are okay, but they can slip and slide. And when you need to reach for something, your hands are trapped inside. Now, there's the Snuggie, the blanket that has sleeves. The Snuggie keeps you totally warm and gives you the freedom.
I actually gave one of these. I gave one of these for a present to a friend of mine, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
such a great. You watch this and you say, "Great idea." Why would you not think that's a great idea? It's a blanket with sleeves.
Here's a little more.
To use your hands. So now you can work the remote or read a book in total warmth and comfort.
Yes.
Use your laptop without being cold or enjoy.
And you look like a Gregorian monk.
Yeah,
all the time, pretty much. Yeah.
Ready to chant.
Staying snugly warm. Snuggie is made of ultra soft, thick, luxurious fleece.
Ultra soft, by the way.
It is.
Because honestly, you can have the regular fleece, or you can get ultra soft.
Well, I thought regular soft and ultra soft, so it's actually 3 choices.
Well, this is the first time, Chris, that they've gone after a company for the handling for each item, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. And you always go, but wait, there's more. We'll double your offer, whatever. This is the first time, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I see this all the time. My daughter and I actually laugh about this. We're like, but wait, there's more, and we always say they double the offer.
Right.
Turns out, you're charged $7.95 in handling for each item, nearly doubling the total price for both. This is what happens. FTC has gone after them, and All-Star Products Group is being ordered to pay customers $7.2 million, which will mean you might get 70 cents in a check.
$1.82. Yeah, that's how you got your $1.82 from Mazda.
Yes.
And let me ask you this. Being kind of a student of marketing over the years, what did you call it when you were, and you grew up here or Omaha? Iowa.
Southwest Iowa, yeah.
What did you call it when you took someone's underwear up?
Well, it was a Snuggie.
Okay, so
we called it a Snuggie.
And that's my point.
Now they call it what do they call it now?
Wedgie?
A wedgie. Yeah.
Right.
It was a Snuggie.
It's a Snuggie where I grew up, too. And so when I saw someone actually created a product called the Snuggie.
I cannot even believe. Because I didn't think anybody in the world knew that a Snuggie was pulling somebody's underwear.
Yeah.
Chris, unbelievable.
There I am for you.
Unbelievable.
Hey, it's the Midwest upbringing, and we're the same age. We went through. It's called the Snuggie era, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
and the next generation was called the Wedgie era.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I can't believe that somebody else knew that.
Yeah,
I always said when they said Snuggie, I'm like, why are you calling something a Snuggie?
Exactly.
That's when you pull somebody's underwear up.
I thought the same thing. I thought marketing error. But no, it wasn't, right? We were wrong.
No.
This thing took off, if I'm not mistaken. Did it say anything in that article about sales?
How many sales? Hold on one second.
This thing was the talk of...
Well, if the settlement is $7 million, it's got to be large.
Yeah, you would think like 100 million.
They have mall stores that are as seen on TV stores.
Right.
And I just think it's genius. I think it's wonderful. But if you ever see that, and I hope generally, I hope that when you see that, but wait, there's more, you realize, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And maybe that'll
fix things. It is the shipping and the handling, and that they get you with that all the time.
All the time.
And it's excessive, right? Buy one, get the next one free, but you have to pay shipping and handling for both, and it blows your mind how much money. I mean, you're thinking they're going to pay human couriers to bring this to me on a pillow.
What is shipping and handling?
Yeah, it's like...
What is shipping and handling? Whatever.
They should just I mean, because they called it postage, Rob, it'd be 20 cents.
Thank you very much.
Or a buck, that's why. Yeah,
right.
That's great. And how old is that commercial, by the way?
Oh, hell, I don't know.
Was that 90s, late 90s,
No.
early 2000s,
I'd
or is
say
that still running?
2000s. I'd say
Okay.
2000s. I don't think it's running a while. I remember that I bought a morning show partner of mine in Washington, D.C. in around 2010. I bought her a Snuggie.
Yeah.
And you know what? She acted like she hated it.
She loved it.
I think she loved it.
Duh, because of the extra plush material, extra soft.
Ultra plush.
Yeah, ultra.
Plush.
That's
Ultra
right.
plush. Yeah.
Now, I tell you what, the one I have taken advantage of in
What's-
recent memory,
what's that?
I bought for everyone in my family for Christmas one year a Chia Pet and pretended that was their gift, and just so I could look at the reactions. And people like my mom and dad, for example, had no idea what the heck the Chia Pet was.
I think they need to do a pot version of it for Colorado and
Yeah.
Washington State. They should do a pot version of it, like a Bob Marley Chia Pet.
Right.
And it's instead of the what are they? They're what sort of what are they? What are the seeds? They're like alfalfa sprouts.
Yeah, they're like sprouts.
They should
yeah.
do weed. They should put weed on them.
Right, and make it a Bob Marley. That's back to
Chia
the marketing. Back to the marketing,
Yes,
Rob.
yes.
That's genius.
We're giving away ideas here.
We
dude.
really are.
We're giving away millions of dollars worth of ideas.
Yeah, that's right. And if you buy one of his, you get mine for free. All you need to do is pay shipping and handling.
All right. Great to have you in, as always.
Thanks, Rob.
If you'd like to tell everybody where they can find you, please go ahead.
Yes, freemarketunderground.com. And by the way, that's where I will archive the radio show. Check it out and check out the charts.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Please destroy all traces of the preceding message using the standard protocol. Alert all friendly parties to the existence of the underground, but only after the requisite background check. Until the next transmission, keep up the good fight.